They say that obsession is born from a fragile heart, that it all starts with love at first sight. A song that's a little too perfect, a smile that lingers in your mind, a live performance that gives the impression of being seen. It's charming, almost naive. But here, fascination is a product crafted with the precision of a haute couture bag and the coldness of a military strategy. Casting, training, psychology, storytelling, every detail is aligned to elicit a precise reaction from you. You just think you appreciate an idol. In reality, you were trained to do it. Look at this world. Giant billboards, sponsored ads, perfect choreography, calculated confidences. Everything shines like a luxury shop window, except the truth. In this game, nobody starts sasang. We simply start as fan. A little curious, a little sensitive, a little deprived. The industry takes care of the rest. And you, whether you are the shy fan, the loyal one, the passionate one, the hurt one, the dreamer, or just the bored one, you can be built. Modeled. Exclusive access, a look for you, a phrase that seems personal, and without realizing it, you're already walking into the trap. Because a highly invested fan is profitable, but an obsessed fan, much more. So observe. This is how you build a loyal audience, then a dependent audience, then a dangerous audience. Breathe, my friend. You go behind the scenes where the spider weaves its web. This is where you make a fan. No, a sasang. Of course, everyone loves to think that one day, somewhere, a charming boy just strolled into the studio and the spotlight picked him, as if becoming famous were just a lucky coincidence. It's a lovely thought, and totally untrue. An idol as we see them doesn't really exist. They are created, then crafted, then arranged, nurtured, refined, sharpened, and scripted. The industry starts with a face, but not just any face. It needs to be a face that sparks desire without causing fear, admiration without overpowering, and fantasy without losing its innocence. It shouldn't be too adult, too risky, or too suggestive. The jawline, the eyelids, and the smile are all carefully looked at. Everything should convey a story even before the actor says a word. Next up, let's talk about the storyline. The industry craves a challenging yet uplifting childhood, a fiery love for dance that sparked when he was just 3 years old, a background filled with movement, a charming personality, a standout quality, and most importantly, the dream of making his parents proud. It's a tale that flows easily, resonates deeply, and is just vague enough for you to see yourself in it. We're not sharing the whole truth. We're sharing what gets results. You might think you're interacting with a real person, but you're really engaging with a character. And when the product is all set and nicely wrapped up, it gets launched into the world like a clever trap. It's a special creation. But in reality, you're just seeing a carefully made construct. The perfect boy? It's not out there. But the perfect trap? Absolutely. And he's got on some sparkly sequins, holding a microphone and wearing a practiced smile that seems to be just for you. In 2012, Dae Ryun Chang, a business professor at Yonsei University in Seoul, and Kyung-un Choi wrote an article for Harvard Business Review called What Marketers Can Learn from Korean Pop Music. They explained why K-pop has become so successful worldwide. They said the key secret is something called culture technology, CT. This idea was created by Lee Soo-man, the founder of SM Entertainment, one of the biggest entertainment companies in South Korea. CT is a way of carefully designing and spreading Korean pop culture so it can appeal to audiences in many different countries. These entertainment companies are large and highly organized. They work a bit like old Hollywood studios. They manage their artists very closely and train them intensely. Each company has hundreds of young talents who learn to sing, dance, act, and speak foreign languages. In the early days, CT focused on Korean artists like Rain and Boa, but the updated model now includes more foreign singers from important markets. These singers are added to large girl groups or boy groups and help promote the group in their home countries. Some of these big groups, like Girls' Generation or Super Junior with 11 members, can even be split into subunits. Each subunit focuses on something different, such as singing, dancing, rapping, or speaking a specific language. The group becomes like a transformer that can be rearranged in different ways depending on what the market needs. The goal is for the music's look, sound, and feeling to seem local, no matter where it is played. This is how K-pop becomes U-pop, universally popular music. Culture technology shows that a person's culture or subculture can be redesigned with intercultural elements to make it more marketable. It also shows that companies must stay flexible and adapt the way they present their culture in different countries. CT offers powerful tools for helping a K-pop group find a global audience from the moment it launches. Well, phew, that was intense. This is the very, very beginning and the heart of K-pop. Long story short, every company has tons of young talents. They're known as trainees. It's a nice way to say teenagers who go through a tough training routine that includes daily exercise routine, feeling repetition, military order, constant watchfulness, psychological assessment. They are trained just like engineers train machines, and their goals are quite alike, maximizing, but in this case, it's all about emotional maximization. They aim to present a polished, exportable, global version of themselves. Not too local, not too personal, and never too real. The searchers share that this standardization allows for the creation of standardized yet adaptable idols who can charm folks living in Tokyo, Bangkok, Paris, Sao Paulo, or even Los Angeles all at once. But here we are. What the article doesn't talk about is the other side of the model. Behind the training, it's not just about getting trainees ready to perform. In reality, they learn to connect with and reflect the feelings of their fans. Their success depends on mastering the art of perfect ambiguity, close enough to be adored, yet far enough to spark desire. Polite enough to comfort, yet open enough to stir tenderness. Agencies don't just make singers, they create connections. They craft individuals meant to spark joy and excitement in people, serving as a blank canvas where everyone can imagine their perfect dreams. Trust me, once you dive into this world, you stop noticing the code behind the face or the clever design behind the smile. You can't really see the culture technology behind the idol anymore. All you see is what the system wants you to see, a cleverly crafted illusion. This is how you build devoted fans and sasaengs. The question is, how does this industry stay so powerful even though it isn't very genuine? The answer can be wrapped up in just two words: psychological types. This is the second tool of culture technology. What people often hesitate to say out loud is that K-pop isn't just about selling music. It also promotes characters created to fulfill the emotional needs of the audience. Absolutely. Upper fandom, you're designed to love them. In the tough world of this industry, they're often called psychotypes. I like to think of them as what they truly are: super manipulative emotional archetypes. Every K-pop group, without exception, feels like a fun cast of characters designed to meet all sorts of emotional needs. It's not just because diversity is pretty, but because when you see a group, you want to find a clear hero to relate to. And guess what? The industry knows this really well. Each artist is thoughtfully chosen and trained to take on a special role in the group, whether they're the charming leader, the intriguing member, or the playful jokester. These roles don't just happen by chance. They didn't pop up out of nowhere in a trainee dorm. They're carefully assigned, practiced, and rehearsed, often for years before the band makes its big debut. And when you look behind these choices, you won't find dreamy romantics, but groups of psychologists and experts in human behavior. Why does this system work? It's because people don't really get attached to randomness. They get attached to what fills a gap in their hearts. And the K-pop system helps to sort out those gaps. Each type acts like an emotional magnet, a friend to help keep you safe, another one to satisfy your need for identification. Here's another one to keep you engaged. Here's another treat to fulfill your craving for something truly special. This isn't just about fan service. It's all about emotional engineering. It's like a crazy distillery, and it works like a charm. Fans think they're loving freely. They think they're choosing their favorite. They think they're discovering them by chance. But in truth, they're reacting exactly to what those characters were created to do. That's it, the ultimate charm of advertising, making you think that your feelings are just a part of life, when really, you're the outcome of a clever emotional study. This isn't just a marketing strategy anymore. It's like a tricky mental maze where things might look random, but there's actually a smart logic behind it all. And why no one is talking about it? Why everyone knows something is different, but just stay silent or are not acknowledged? Why being manipulated emotionally in exchange of money is considered to be a normal fan? Well, upper fandom in IDOLDEX, we're going to talk about it every week to wake up the minds or to heal, or simply to understand the dirty machine behind your posters. But even before we dive into the effects of CT and psychological types, let's kick things off by getting a handle on the basics in this episode. To really appreciate the true power of this industry, we need to change how we look at things. It's not just about music, fans, or idols anymore. It's all about design. And that's a key point I want you to grasp. K-pop isn't just a culture that happens by chance. It's a carefully crafted industry. Before we dive into psychology, emotions, or even images, we have to think about the body first. But when the body isn't in control, it becomes a wobbly factor. And any wobbly factor can lead to economic risks. This is exactly why the trainee system works like a big factory production line with lots of filters. When new people come in, there's a huge wave of young folks with all sorts of personalities and different skills. But when they finish, only a small handful of profiles that fit the economic model are left. Between these 2 points, there isn't really a formal artistic training. Instead, it's more like a selection process that narrows down options. Each stage addresses a specific and important question. Can this person become a reliable foundation for a consistent emotional expression? The criteria aren't just about technical stuff. They're also about structure. The system appreciates the ability to repeat things without changing, being okay with constant checks, accepting ongoing assessments, having low resistance to standardization, and being able to separate inner feelings from outer expressions. A trainee who feels too much can be unpredictable, while one who doesn't feel enough can become unresponsive. The system doesn't want either of those. It aims for a perfectly manageable responsiveness. In this way of thinking, exhaustion isn't just a side effect. It turns into a tool. A weary body is easier to shape, more compliant, and less likely to push back. Beneath this harshness is a focus on making things work better. We didn't even started yet, I fear. Once the body is stable, the system focuses on noticeable behavior. The aim isn't to make everything look the same, but to lessen the differences in behavior. In a worldwide market, unexpected behavior can be a risk for businesses. So gestures are set in a certain way, smiles are adjusted just right, How long someone looks at the camera is timed, the speed of talking is managed, how to handle silence is taught, and the level of emotions is kept in check. If anything goes beyond these limits, it gets fixed. This whole process helps create what some researchers like to call standardized but adaptable idols. But remember, this adaptability doesn't mean freedom. It just means they can tweak some things without changing the main structure. Once everything is standardized, the core of the system becomes obvious: dissociation. The trainee learns early on to keep their true feelings separate from what they show, ensuring the product stays stable. An idol who shares their real emotions brings too much unpredictability into the mix, so emotion stops being something they experience and turns into a tool. It's not a reflection anymore, it's a function. We can then talk about functional emotion, an emotion that can be activated, adjusted, and repeated. From that point, the system can turn on what truly counts: connection. It's all about stirring up strong feelings and understanding when and how to spark them. So this is for this reason that vulnerability is never complete. It's broken up, measured, and has a rhythm to it. If there's too much fragility, people might feel pushed away, but if there's not enough, it can be hard to connect. So the system creates a kind of aesthetic vulnerability that's clear enough to relate to, but still a bit fuzzy to let people project their own feelings onto it. This is where psychological types become important. They aren't the result of success. Instead, they serve as a starting point. A group doesn't come together just because its members get along on a personal level. It's created to fulfill the widest range of emotional functions. So we need a comforting role, a mysterious role, an approachable role, an uplifting role, and a fun role. This variety isn't just for looks, it's because connecting works better when it's specific. Each member turns into a unique emotional doorway. You don't pick your bias by chance. You select the one that truly fills the gap you feel in other areas. And the industry is fully aware of this. This system isn't built on sincerity, it's all about being consistent on the inside. Even if an idol shifts their concept, their role stays clear. When they grow and change, their path is already set. Because of this, even tough times can fit into the story. This is why scandals don't always lead to destruction. Sometimes they actually make things stronger. When suffering is put on display, it turns into a sign of being real. This isn't a contradiction. It makes sense. With repeated exposure, people start to overlook the structure. We stop noticing the casting, the roles, or the engineering. All we see is one person. And it's right at this moment that the system comes out on top. When the illusion feels natural, when the calculations fade away, and when the strategy starts to look a bit more human. This isn't just being naive, it's a regular way our brains work. Our minds are built to spot faces, create links, and understand intentions. The industry isn't pushing anything on us, it's just taking advantage of what's already there. This idea also applies to how close things are. The idol shouldn't be too far away or too easy to reach. So distance turns into a factor, and uncertainty becomes a tactic. We can think of this as a carefully managed space of uncertainty, where we don't quite get total clarity or complete confusion. To keep things a bit mysterious, the system constantly tweaks how much personal information is shared, how often interactions happen, how steady public conversations are, and adds in little unresolved contradictions. These contradictions aren't mistakes. They help keep things open to interpretation. A character that's too predictable can feel stuck, while a character that's just a bit incomplete stays interesting and open-ended. This is where role engineering steps in. Psychological types aren't seen as full human personalities, but rather as standardized emotional functions. Each function matches a common need found in people: emotional regulation, validation, idealization, projection, belonging, arousal, or repair. A group is put together not to create a perfect balance among people, but to make sure all functions are covered. Each person in the group serves as a unique emotional connection. You don't just pick your bias by chance. You select the one that fills the gaps you have in other areas. And this choice isn't just made on a whim, it's something that has been thought out in advance. But the system isn't just sitting still, it's always changing. Every time there's a public interaction, it creates data we can measure: how engaged people are, how long they pay attention, how often they respond, what kind of comments they make, and the words they choose. We use this data to tweak roles, behaviors, ideas, and stories. A trait that sparks interest gets stronger. A neutral trait fades away. A troublesome trait is hidden or seen in a new light. This is a classic way we adapt, all tied to our feelings. To create a strong bond, the system depends on an important factor: intermittent availability. It purposefully switches between times of being really present and times of being completely absent. This back and forth keeps things exciting, while also building up a lot of anticipation. The relationship isn't always steady. It has a rhythm to it. And this rhythm is carefully crafted to keep our attention steady over time. In a very artificial system, the biggest risk is still how people see falsehoods. To avoid this, the system adds carefully measured signs of authenticity: visible tiredness, brief emotions, small flaws, and partial admissions. These features are kept to a strict limit in how often and how strongly they appear. They aren't meant to shake up the structure, but to keep its trustworthiness intact. In the end, the system hands over an important piece of its stability to the public. Fans share, defend, correct, explain, and justify. This community self-regulation helps lower control costs and boosts overall resilience. As a result, the system becomes self-sustaining. What makes this system so strong isn't just about direct control. It's all about the coming together of neatly organized simple parts: standardization, separation, managed uncertainty, mental functions, ongoing feedback, scarcity handling, fake authenticity, and community support. It's a trick dressed up as design, and just like any cleverly crafted design, it remains sturdy even when you start to notice the plans behind it. So now you know. Not the fantasy, the framework. Not the face, the architecture. Because in this industry, nothing is accidental. Not the silence. Not the softness. Not the way you felt seen. Next week, we stop talking about the machine and start naming what it produces. The psychological types, the roles, the functions disguised as personalities, why every group has them, why you recognize them instantly, and why one of them probably chose you long before you chose them.